When I graduated in 1968, there wasn't too much going on, so I went and I got drafted. And then when I got drafted, they wanted to do what they wanted to do with me, and I turned around and said, no, I volunteered because I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I wanted to go in the Army. They wanted me to go in the Marine Corps, and I didn't want to go. I was a squad leader, battalion leader, and when I went to Germany, I was Chief Fire Control Operator of the Hawk missile in Bad Kissimmee, Germany. When I first went to Vietnam, I was probably the first black non-commissioned officer, which is a Sergeant E5. And I was the first black to be in charge of a squadron. I was the first black to be in charge of a battalion. So, you know, being the first, I've been the first of many as a black man. So doing my course in the military, I gained respect because I gave respect. And that was due to my family history and everything. We all respected each other, and we were taught in order to get respect, you got to be respectful. My guys were like, you know, at first they didn't understand. They would come and say, hey, I'm a radio operator. Well, I'm a machine gunner. No, that's what you came here as, but if the radio operator gets killed and I don't train somebody else how to use that radio, I said, we're out of luck. So I cross-trained everybody. Everybody learned everybody's job. And then even me, as the squad leader, I went and took lesser private first class, PFCs, and look here, come here. You're gonna run the squad today. If I get eliminated, who's gonna run the squad? So the cross-training that I implemented filtered through quite a few different units in Vietnam. So far as, you know, people say, hey, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this. No, you gotta become not just the whole, you gotta become a part of the whole to make the whole. I've got 2 Purple Hearts with Oak Leaf Cluster, and when I got shot in the head at a fire support base, I was probably down 10 minutes. The medic come over, fixed me up. I said, hey, somebody, we got to stop this. So I got back on my equipment, which was a duster, and told the guys, hey, look here, you guys all stand back, hand the ammunition to me, and I'll load the gun, which I was totally exposed. And I didn't care because I was in charge of taking care of not just my life, but all the rest of the guys' lives. We silenced the enemy fire. The next day we went out and did what they call a KIA. We went out and reconned the area, and we had killed over 200 and some Viet Cong. Got shot again. And that was in a fire support base right outside of Cu Chi, and I wasn't interested in me. I needed to check on my men, so the medic patched me up, boom. And then later on, I had to go back to the rear to the dispensary to be taken care of, but hey. August the 8th. Every time August the 8th comes up, I get kind of, you know, because August the 8th, 1970, I picked a man up who was with another platoon. He was wounded. I put him on my shoulder and I'm walking him to the helicopter. I'm talking to him. By the time I get him to the helicopter to put him down on the gurney, that man died on my shoulder. The guys who gave all, their troubles are over. The guys who were there that experienced stuff like I do, experienced it daily. PTSD and stuff like that. And finally, the government has gone to the point of making sure that the ones that are still here that are scarred are being taken care of. Being what they call a non-commissioned officer, which was a Sergeant E5, I had lieutenants, majors, full bird colonels, and everybody that would come to me. Hey, Sergeant Evans, how do we do this? How do we do that? What should we do and what shouldn't we do? So yeah, I took the job as I got not just my life, I'm responsible for everybody else's life. So yeah, so a lot of things that I implemented, they came and asked me what to do. Quite a few places that we would go to, and they say, hey, you can't be here. You can't be here. Hey, time out. I served in the Army in the Republic of South Vietnam. I'll go where I want to go. And they knew that they wasn't going to deter me from going where I wanted to go. So they got to the point that, hey, after I got into a couple altercations, they said, hey, we got to leave him alone, because I wasn't afraid of nothing. It was still just getting to the point to where black people were accepted everywhere. They still had their little satellite places that, hey, you didn't go, but I went where I wanted to go. People don't understand what it is to be black and be in charge, because everybody would say, oh, he don't know what he's doing. Well, me being in charge and being a black man, I had to elevate myself beyond their expectations. So when I got done in the military, that guy right there has got more integrity than anybody we know. Being here in Richmond to this day, I participate in the youth organizations. I go and talk to a bunch of the youth and everything and try to get them to understand that, hey, look here, we're all in this together, we're not separate. Don't look at the color of a man's skin.
Well, back in 1962, I was living with my dad in Detroit. My parents had divorced. I was raised in Pittsburgh primarily, but in the latter teen years, my mom sent me to Detroit because I got to be a little bit of a handful. Then my dad, he's the one that directed me to the military. And so I joined the Army in 1962. And I took basic at Fort Knox, Kentucky. And from there, they sent me to Signal Corps School in Texas. That was a joy for me because I've always liked gadgets and things. And so I had a chance to play with all these big things, and they qualified me as a radio teletype operator, which meant we had equipment that we could actually operate the teletype in a Jeep or a truck or whatever, and it would transmit that signal to another device that would receive it miles away. Did that, went to Fort Benning, Georgia, where they were developing the air mobile concept. Everything, for the most part, was vehicles, tracks and vehicles. But in Vietnam, as that was coming about, it was jungle territory. So we had to learn how to fly over that and get equipment down into that, So we developed the concept of actually taking Jeeps and trucks and all that to a certain spot, and then we would drop them with a parachute into an area, and then the guys would get them. And so the guys, we would arrive in an area and have to rappel from the chopper down into the area that we were going to be in. It took a month for us to get to Vietnam. We left in July of '65. from Fort Benning, where we were developing this air mobile concept. They took the colors of the 1st Cavalry Division that was in Korea and gave those colors to this new division and dubbed it 1st Cavalry Division Air Mobile. And then they put us on some boats and sent us to Vietnam. Yeah, it was 30 days. We had one day or a half a day rest stop in Hawaii. So we got to Vietnam, and we landed on the beach pretty much like you see in the movies, because we had to come down the side of the ship into these LSTs, and the LSTs would take you into the shoreline. And of course, we were, I was 18, 19 years old, so a bit afraid, not knowing what to anticipate, even though you had what you thought was the best weaponry in the world, you know, and the support of your buddies and all that. Still at a young age, you know, you're afraid. So they took us in, dropped the gate on the LST and told us to hit it. And we hit it. And we hit this beachhead. It was kind of like a hill. And you could just basically see just the sky. And so we assumed that there was something on the other side of that. We didn't know that a Marine brigade had already cleared that area for a landing. So when we got up the top of the hill, it must have been about 50 to 100 children that approached us, and they were, "Hey, GI, you got candy? Hey, GI, you got," which was a welcome relief, you know, from what we thought we was going to run into. But then they put us on choppers and that, and it flew us to our destination, which was An-Khe, where we went. And we set up a perimeter there in that area, and our job was to cut off the Viet Cong before they got down into the southern part of the country. I didn't have a lot of firefights, maybe 3 or 4 that I can recall, because my job was mostly technical. So they only used me when they needed somebody. They didn't have enough. I remember one time they put me on the chopper, and I had to sit in the doorway as a gunner in this chopper as they flew over the perimeter looking for folks. Kind of a pretty good target sitting up in there. I was hoping I didn't see anybody. But I was ready. I had a big 50 caliber machine gun, and I was ready to go.